I love the fact that there is that psych safetyness in our team where we have that vulnerability where we say like, I didn't know how to do this, but I gave it a go and I can do better next time, but it's all good. And we still can show up confident within our team and not feel judged in a way. Like that's still really important, having that safe environment to be able to show up as a confident person, even if you're not feeling so.
Yeah, you have to have confidence that you're going to fail, but it's okay to fail because you're just going to get better.
Here's some tips on how you can show up as a confident leader.
Welcome to the Marketing Mentors podcast, brought to you by Red Pandas Digital. My name's Tasha and I'm joined by Linda. And today, if you didn't pick up on that, we are talking about how you can show up as a confident leader. Now, before we get into the actual tactics of how you can show up as a confident leader, I do want to share a few, I guess you could call them, vulnerabilities, if you will, of things that I've experienced. And that is, for a long time, and maybe it's kind of, a bit of imposter syndrome for a long time. And even still to today, I have moments of, am I good enough to be a leader? Am I experienced enough? Am I fighting against something that is there or is not really there? I sometimes feel like being a, younger female, that is, a weakness in a way. I do also think it's a strength, but these thoughts come into my head. I can't help that they come into my head and definitely play a part sometimes on my confidence, and whether or not in a good or a bad way. I think it's important to stay humble, but I definitely think that there are moments of, doubt in my mind where I don't know if I'm, good enough or experienced enough to be the leader that you all need of me or that I've needed to be in the past. So it's interesting.
I guess as well, T, it probably plays into your head more so depending on who's in that call or that room with you. You know what I mean? Like historically, if we look at leadership, I mean, it's getting better now when we talk about women in leadership. But, if you are in a call and you have a call full of men and they're older and, they have that confident, authoritative personality behind them and aura behind them, then I think it makes sense that you do every now and then experience that feeling. Yeah. Where it's like, how am I going to show up, be confident and hold my own with these people?
And it's also, it's like, I feel like sometimes there is a fine line between showing up, being confident and knowing what I'm talking about with a little bit of maybe arrogance has to come with it so that I'm not like just trotted all over. Yeah. But also a fine line between someone then just calling me a bitch, which has happened plenty of times before.
Really?
Yeah.
In calls?
Yeah. Well, not in calls. I'd be afterwards.
Yeah.
Moby's the only person that's called me a bitch to my face.
Yeah.
Maybe you as well, but that's about it.
Yeah. Probably have.
But no, I've had I think in terms of, I do think we have to show up a bit differently. So the tactics we're going to talk about, I think everyone can apply them, but do know that they're going to be a little bit skewed for us younger females. Yeah. Because it's the experiences that we've been through. But with that said, we know, Moby shows up to a lot of his meetings like this as well. We see it and we learn from him. And, with that said, let's get into some of those tactics. So the first one that I want to talk about, and we won't spend too long on it because we actually have a whole other podcast episode on it, but it's just being mindful of power diminishing tactics. Yeah. So like I said, I won't get fully into it. Go back and listen to that episode. But the key ones are thanking people for their time at the end of a session.
So not doing that.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so being conscious of those power diminishing things, they will erode your confidence over time. And not only will they erode your confidence, they erode, like we said, the power. And that all plays into the dynamics of a session or being a leader.
It's really just a framing thing. Yeah. So it's rather than just not saying it, I guess it's thinking about what you're saying and framing it in a way that makes you appear and look more confident and authoritative. Exactly. So rather than saying at the end of a call, thank you for your time, you can instead say something like, this was a really great session. Yeah. We showed up 100 today.
Exactly.
I'm so excited for our next session.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do this.
Exactly. That inclusive approach or attitude, as opposed to thank you for your time and then getting it off of that power diminishing, right?
I guess as well, you'll never see a doctor really say that to you. Exactly. We go to see our doctor, and they won't say that at the end. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
like, see you next time.
Exactly.
Have a great day. And it's just assumed,
Yeah.
that's the dynamic between patient and doctor.
Yeah.
It should be the same for you, whatever role you're in, and the same for us, where we have client and coach.
Yeah.
Client and consultant.
Yeah. Leaders and their team.
Yeah.
That, and still on the topic of being mindful of power diminishing behaviors, but you've got things like being over time. So don't go over time. Don't be late.
Respect
be
your
prompt,
time.
Respect your time and your team members' time or your clients' time.
Yeah, and sometimes that will involve sending uncomfortable messages.
Yep.
And that's where, like that vulnerability piece. I was just talking to you today, like I think there was a client that we had, or I had not a retainer client, just, like a HubSpot client.
Yep.
And they were running 5 minutes late
Yep.
to my session with them. And, I sent them a message just saying like, I can give you 5 more minutes and then I'm going to move on to something else.
Yeah.
So sometimes it can feel uncomfortable, but you need to make sure that you keep that confidence and that authority. Otherwise, people won't respect you in that way.
Exactly. And then just on the last few ones on that one is, small talk. We all love small talk, but let's be real. Small talk, it does, one, erode power in a relationship, but then also it's kind of useless. Like as a leader, you're not there to just chit chat with someone. There is a time and place for small talk, Friday Arvo beers or whatever, or like wherever you're going to go do that then. When you guys are in a meeting and you're on work time, let's work on what we need to do in that time. Similarly with, filler words, I love my ums and 100% and thens and, all that type of stuff, but be conscious of those and how they can erode your power over time. Finally, radical candor. This one's probably really, really, really important to take note of, is when we're not radically candid with our team, we are not only losing power, but we're losing their confidence in us, because we're meant to be helping them grow. We're meant to be helping guide them. We're meant to be empowering them. I actually have a really nice quote that I'd like to share at this point in time that Linda might not agree with me with.
Oh my gosh.
But it's from someone called Jennifer Granholm, which maybe I should know who that is, but I don't. But the quote is, "Sometimes leadership is planting trees under whose shade you'll never sit." So if we just look at that a little bit, if we're not radically candid.
If I'm listening to this podcast right now, I'm pausing and rewinding. What the hell is she to say?
If we don't nurture our team or the people that we're leading properly, and we're not radically candid with them, and we are not open and direct and come from a place of high care and, directedness, then we are not allowing them to grow to the big trees they need to be and providing shade for others. You know what I mean? Like, what a beautiful metaphor. Linda's like, no.
Oh my God.
No.
It's like way up in the clouds for me. I'm like, I need more directness.
I'm going to come back to that metaphor
point,
later.
Blunt.
Because it's so powerful.
But I do get the point in that, being confident in how you show up is part of, being able to leverage that directness. And if you can't leverage being direct to people while also being caring, then there is that element of not showing that you are authoritative. You're not able to display how you're feeling in a healthy way.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Exactly.
Being direct, being caring.
Yeah.
They should go hand in hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So go back to that episode of 5 power diminishing things that you might be doing or behaviors, and be mindful of those. Being a leader, instilling confidence in your team and in yourself, be conscious of those, because it feeds into your team. They feel it. They're aware of that. The next one I want to talk to, or Linda, I think you mentioned, is your non-verbal cues.
Yeah, so just on verbal as well, T, I will say, so, with confidence and showing up as a confident leader, like T just said, you can do that verbally, and there are verbal things that you should work on and non-verbal. On the verbal side, something that I particularly have been working on is incisive communication to help me show up as being a more confident leader. So that's the concept of straight line communication. And it really is about trying to use as few words as possible. And that's something that I historically have been really bad at.
Yep.
Like I'll mumble around, particularly if I'm talking about a topic that I'm not certain about or I'm super nervous. 1,000 words will just naturally come out.
So many people do it though.
Yeah. I mean, it's natural for a lot of people, but for me personally, like I noticed that I did that a lot.
Yep.
So I've been working on the incisiveness with all different calls that I have, even in my personal life. Like,
nice.
I've noticed as well, I'm telling a story personally and it's the worst storytelling because I'm just going on for too long.
Yeah, yeah.
So being incisive with your words makes you a more effective communicator, and therefore in turn makes you appear more confident.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Gets to the point quicker as well. No one needs to hear whiffle, waffle, baffle unless you're listening to this podcast.
That's true.
Yes, we're not always incisive in this podcast, but obviously it's a different type of content.
Yeah.
And I'm not leading you right now, guys. We're just talking about some really cool things. With that said, we'll jump into nonverbal.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
I guess with nonverbal, there are two places in the workplace, I guess, where you'll apply different types of nonverbal behavior, and that's either a face-to-face or it's on Teams. And you can do different things. So I guess, you know, when we talk about our Teams calls, for example, so you're on, or a Zoom call, for example, there's a way in which you can show up and act in a way that even without speaking shows that you're a confident person.
What are some of those ways, Linda?
And you know, I'll say some, but I guess with this as well, like they seem so basic, but a lot of the time we forget the basics and we often don't see it. Like when I'm speaking to people on Teams, I won't see the basics in some of this stuff. So for us personally and me personally, when I'm on a call, I will stand up on a call because you just have more, I guess, presence behind you when you're standing as opposed to kind of sitting down.
When you sit, you relax. You know, that's what you do when you're relaxing. You sit down, you slouch, might sit back a little bit, sway on your seat. Like there's all these things that you do subconsciously that when you start to stand for some of your meetings, and like I do it pretty much every meeting now, you notice a huge difference in the way you deliver, the way you show up.
Even how your voice comes out and projects.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so standing is one. Outside of that, I'll say, you know, pay attention to your body and react with your body to what that person's saying. So if they're saying something that's quite serious, like leaning into the camera. Sorry, I've moved away from the mic there, but leaning into the camera.
Leaning into the camera.
In a way. But I guess, you know, physical cues, because these just show you as a better listener and you're more emotionally intelligent because you're in tune with what they're saying, and it just it kind of increases that authoritative type aura
and
that
confidence.
you have.
And your team is going, oh, my leader, my team, they're listening to me.
That's right.
They're engaged with me.
Yeah.
I have confidence in them because I'm actually being heard. I feel like I'm being seen and I'm valid, I'm valued, you know. All these things that an employee will think of and be feeling. They might not realize they're feeling it, but they are feeling it, and they're picking up on these things that you're dropping, the way that you show up, the way that you listen, the way that you talk.
Even your face.
Yeah.
Like if you pull a face or if you're looking down.
Or if you're like me and I have a shit poker face.
Yeah.
So I have to be very careful when I'm in a bad mood.
Yeah.
To quickly hide that because my team will pick up on it and then it rubs off on them like you've seen multiple times.
Yeah.
So it's being a good leader. You have to be so self-aware of those things.
Yeah.
And that's how you get that confidence in your team to have confidence in you. With that said, you also need to be open and say, hey, I'm not perfect. Yeah, I have my days.
Yeah.
Like most of you have seen where I'm under the pump and I can't hide that poker face and the stress comes out. But I'm open with my team and it's like, you know, bear with me. I'm going through this journey as well. I'm learning to be a better leader too.
Yeah.
And your team might go, okay, cool. She might not have all the answers, but she's open about not having them and is open about growing.
That vulnerability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the team like, okay, I'm cool with that too. And we just grow and learn and become better together.
Yeah.
And we all have this shared
I love that.
confidence.
I love the fact that there is that psych safetyness in our team where we have that vulnerability where we say like, I didn't know how to do this, but I gave it a go and I can do better next time, but it's all good. And we still can show up confident within our team and not feel judged in a way. Like that's still really important, having that safe environment to be able to show up as a confident person, even if you're not feeling so.
Yeah, you have to have confidence that you're going to fail, but it's okay to fail because you're just going to get better.
Well, I mean, I know for myself, you know, I'm more of an analytical type personality. So for me, sometimes I'll sit on a thought before I say it in a group setting, and I'll kind of overthink it, if you will, before I feel confident enough to say it out loud. Not always, but I guess sometimes in a setting, I'm like, oh, should I say this now? Should I wait till later, sort of thing. But having that kind of, as you say, that workplace what facilitates the ability, even as an analytical thinker who's not so extroverted, to say those thoughts. And I mean, if anything's been taught like over the years, I think no question or no thought is a dumb thought.
Yeah.
And if you have that question, then I guarantee someone else in the room is also thinking it, but is worried to say it.
Yeah, exactly.
No dumb questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, just dumb people. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
You bitch.
Yeah. See? To my face.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, it's all good. All right. So on the non-verbal, Linda's mentioned being your body language, standing, showing up and, leaning in, your face, the way you, react to certain things.
Yeah. Your face. Fix your face.
Make that a snippet. Your face. But yeah, those are all key things. And it's just, that's one element of all the things that you should and can be doing to be a confident leader, or instilling that confidence in your team for the way that you lead.
Yeah.
The last kind of bucket we'll talk about is this idea of being a forever learner or a forever student. So actively learning and always being on the journey of learning more and being better than what you were yesterday. I think that trickles down again into your team. Mm-hmm. And if you ever get to this place where you go, I've learned everything and I've got nothing else to learn,
then you're an idiot.
Then you're an idiot, yes. But also that's going to feed into your team. Like, do you want a team of people that think that they know everything? No, we want students. We want people that are hungry to learn, that are humble, and they know they don't know everything, but they're actively pursuing to learn more and more and more.
Yeah.
And I actually have another quote that I'd like to share.
This one's full of quotes today, aren't you?
This was not as philosophical, but this one's from John F. Kennedy. Leadership and learning are indispensable. I'll ruin that. Let me do that again. Let me do that again. Leadership and learning are Whoa. I can't read. Indispensable. I got it right the first time. Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other.
So basically you can't have one without the other.
No.
Which is a shorter way of saying what you just said.
Exactly. Hey, I put some fluff around it. Come on.
Some big words.
Yeah, exactly. And I said John F. Kennedy. That makes it more real. Anyway, so
I guess what we're basically saying here is that, to be authoritative, to show up as being confident, you have to also be a prolific learner. You have to keep upskilling in what you're doing because, to achieve confidence, you still have to have that level of degree where you're keeping up with your craft, keeping up with your industry. And great coaches, like what we're striving to become, are just always working on themselves. You look at the best athletes in the world and they have coaches.
Yeah.
So
multiple. For different disciplines and different areas of things that they want to, achieve.
Yeah.
And it's this idea of being a forever student means you're also super open to all of the feedback.
Yeah.
No matter how constructive this feedback can be. And it's a matter of being open and actively seeking this feedback so that we can do better and be better and strive to be better. Sometimes I actually genuinely go out looking for the feedback.
Yeah.
Even though there might not be anything there, I'm looking for it because I am always trying to find a way I could be slightly better.
What I will say on that as well, as part of that kind of learning and being a forever student, part of that I think is very important is reflection. And to be showing up as a confident leader, I think that it's important to also reflect on what kind of leader you want to be.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's a good one.
And I think it's important to have that time where you do reflect on, okay, who have been my leaders in the past? What are things that I've liked? What are things that I've not liked as much?
Yeah.
And making sure that you are doing that framing exercise because, confidence is one thing, leadership is another, and you need to understand both components of it.
Yeah.
And your vision for both.
Yeah.
And where you're currently at and then where you want to get to. And then, like I said, refer to those people that you've had in your life that have been really great at one or the other or not so great at one or the other. And that helps you move in the direction of
really
showing up as a confident person.
There's a mindset leadership coach that I follow on LinkedIn. Her name's Lucy Allen. And she actually has 3, tips around how you can have your confidence action plan, if you will. And she mentions along those lines of, be aware of your leadership style. Like, how do you want to lead? like
Yeah.
what Linda said, look at some of your past leaders, pick and choose things you like, try new things out for yourself. There's another one she says, behave as if you were already that person. So you might
like
not,
that one.
Yeah, you might not already be in that leadership position, but nothing's to stop you from acting out or.
I mean, it's a habit,
Exactly,
right? Like if you do it enough times, you will adopt those traits.
Embodying those traits straight away.
Yeah.
And then finally, challenge your thinking. So you don't always have to be thinking the same way. You should challenge yourself. You should, question whether or not you could be doing something better, or you could be thinking or approaching or feeling a different way about something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think, for what we do as well, it's quite easy to just say these things. And I've found that there are certain things that I can do in between my meetings to help me show up as a confident leader as well.
Yep.
And there's a few tips that I have here as well. So I guess, for what we do, we have, some days back-to-back meetings.
Yep.
And, you carry the energy from the previous call into the next call.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be hard to show up and be in the right headspace. So if you are, in meetings back-to-back, what I'd encourage you to do is, if you can, kind of take 3 to 5 minutes before the call and just get into the right headspace again.
Yeah.
Step away from your laptop, take a few deep breaths.
Yep.
That way you kind of putting yourself in that positive headspace where you can show up the way you need to for the next call.
Yeah.
And if your mind starts wandering as well, so if you are trying to kind of take the deep breaths and you can't do that, then something that you can do is kind of go to your extremities. I know it sounds funny, but just, finding the feeling in your feet, for example, and trying to focus your breath and your energy, or looking at your peers.
Bringing yourself back into that moment.
Yeah.
Remembering where you are, and like Linda said, just focusing on those extremitrities and realizing that, you're human.
Yeah.
These things happen. And with that said as well, Linda, one of my leadership traits is I'm so transparent.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's strength and a weakness, right? Sometimes it's to the point where, you have openly said to me before, you're like, T, go and get a drink of water, you look pissed off.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas there's moments where that's also my strength, because I'm so transparent with my emotions. When I'm absolutely flattered or astounded by what the team have done, I can't.
You start crying.
I start crying. I'm so
and if
happy.
you're unhappy, you'll start crying.
Exactly. So it's it's this, I think, and depending on the leadership style you want to have, I'm cool with that leadership style.
Yeah.
My team know that I'm like this. Like we were saying before, psych safety, transparency. You guys know I'm like this. I do my best to keep it in check. But there's moments where I need my team to help me.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for each other. So I think your leadership style differs a little bit for your team versus the way you show up in client meetings.
Yeah.
But I think we've given listeners a lot of things to use in different settings today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it is with clients or whether it's with your team, there's lots of stuff you can take from this to really implement in your, your professional way that you show up. Try some of these things with your family as well. Some of them work, some of them backfire.
Yeah, true.
Or you try and coach your husband into doing something you don't want to do. It doesn't quite work.
I don't know how less words with my mom would go. She'd be like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. They're
Why
like,
aren't you
what's
talking?
going on? Yeah. I tried the yes and with Sean, and you just got really frustrated. Why are you asking me so many questions?
Yeah.
But look, it's communication. It's fun.
Yeah.
Showing up as a leader. Try different things. Be open to constructive feedback. And be ready to, sometimes hear things you might not want to hear.
On that, there was one quote that Moby said with me that stuck.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, don't let your losses get to your heart and your wins get to your head.
Yes.
And that was really good, because there will be sessions that I have with clients here and there, it doesn't happen frequently, or something happens and the losses, I really struggle getting over the losses. Yeah. And it's just such a good point to be able to level yourself in highs and lows, so that way you don't take what's previously happened in a previous week and then go into the new week with that affecting the way that you show up into a call or a meeting or the way that you do the work. So I really loved that quote.
I do love that one. Unfortunately, Linda, I do think that's something you have to go through, and then you realise. Yeah. You realise when you've taken something too much to your heart or too much to your head, and then someone makes you aware of that, then you're like, okay, cool, I'm not gonna let that happen again. Yeah, yeah. But I do like that one. Thank you for sharing.
That's okay.
Well, with that said, that has been our episode.
A roller coaster.
Yes, lots of emotions in that one. I don't know how they're going to cut this up. Have fun. And until next time.
Thanks, guys.